What's goody, y'all? It's Goody, y'all. Welcome to another episode of Gabbing with Goody Gabor. You can like, subscribe, and comment right here at Goody Gabor Gabs. You can also follow me on IG, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok at Goody Gabor. I appreciate your attendance. Now let's get into it. Welcome to episode 7 of season 7 of Growing Up Hip Hop. They're calling this the Ice Buck Challenge. We'll get to that later. However, the show opens up with Jojo talking to his mother. And I want to highlight this because for me, as someone from the Northeast, someone who's been in the music industry, someone who hears a lot, I know that it's not easy for someone like Jojo to come from a iconic OG household. And then his father became a pastor, right? A minister. So there have been times where Jojo has struggled. That said, you can tell when someone is raised by people who have sense. You can tell that. So we opened the show with Jojo talking to his mother. His mother's a married woman. His father, as we know, is a married man. Jojo is a man who seeks counsel and guidance from his elders and is lucky enough to have some wisdom thrown at him when he goes to them. He's going to his mom to ask his mom how he should approach Tanice's dad, Buck, because he set up a meeting for Buck and himself to speak. Apparently, Buck has an issue with him. He doesn't know what the issue is. Jojo's mom does say that Buck knows game, recognizes game, and maybe if Jojo speaks to him man to man, things will be better. We'll get there. In our next scene, we see Egypt and Sam going to a cake tasting. They are planning their second wedding, and, they need to have a discussion. Egypt lets Sam know that she has sent out all the invitations. They both let us know that they sent out over 200 invitations. Egypt is tasting the cake. One thing I note is that she liked a cake. Sam liked a cake. But then she does this very awkward lack of confidence dance to land on Sam liking the cake or on her fake liking the cake that Sam selected. Also notice that Sam, although his wife is pregnant, he's training for a fight, a place where he's going to get beat up for free. And he had a bit of an attitude that she was enjoying her cake. Little nuanced things, but whatever. They get to talking about TT and Sean being invited to the wedding. And Sam needs us to know that he's okay with Sean being invited to the wedding. But the reality is he's not really okay with Sean being invited to the wedding. He thinks Sean doesn't know him enough to have an opinion on him. And I think we don't see Sean talk about him enough for it to even matter. He also mentions that Sean has a tendency to go back to Pep and Treach with things that he's discovered. Sean doesn't strike me as that type either. He goes in on this tirade, really just downgrading Sean in a manner I've never seen Sean use with him. And the gotcha is I don't think that TT or Sean want to attend the wedding. So it's all for naught. I'm not really feeling Sam, but that's not new. I'm actually disgusted that it's gotten this far, but it is what it is. I believe one of my issues with Sam is that he has this desire to appear so thug, and he's not that, and it's disgusting. In our next scene, we are down to the studio, and we see Lazy working on a song that sounds like it might be a tribute to his mom, but it also sounds really bad as we saw it. But that pish posh, I laughed. But if it was a tribute to his mom, rest in peace, Mama P, my apologies. In any event, Koya goes down to the studio because she heard about the passing of his mom. and she wants to tap in and see if he's okay. He's telling her that he'll be okay, although, like most men, he hasn't slowed down in an effort to grieve the loss of his mom. To those of you out there who have yet to lose your mother, appreciate her. And that's not something that I say from the perspective of someone who wants you to piece up things with toxic individuals. If you and your mom can't get along, find a way to be cordial and step back. But in the event that your mother's only flaw is that she's too nosy and she cares too much, cut her some grace and enjoy it. Because my mom passed in 2009, and I totally wish that I had her around me to be partially annoying again. But that's neither here nor there. You never bounce back from that kind of loss, but you should always take time to grieve it. In any event, during their conversation, Lazy lets Sequoia know, hey, I need you and your mom to piece this situation up because you don't want anything to happen to her and y'all are in this bad space. Sequoia hears what he has to say and she agrees. She doesn't want to be in a position where her and her mother are on the outs and something dark happens. So Sequoia goes and she meets with her mom and they have a discussion. And the thing that I think is different about this discussion is that, one, I believe Sequoia to be at ease knowing that Lazy's not going to try to play her mom out. You also get to hear from Sequoia that when she was younger, growing up between Jojo and Tiny, they kind of put her in the middle when they were having their problems. And she doesn't want that again, especially because Lazy's her mentor. What I thought was cute from Tiny is she said, Lazy ain't nobody finna call you. He finna pull up, and me and him gonna handle the situation. I dig that for Tiny, and I hope that to be true. But another game changer from my perspective is that Tiny says, I apologize for the way I made you feel. Right? Because this wasn't solely about Lazy being a rapper. It was 100% rooted in Tiny closing her daughter out of her life for 2 years. That's a long time to have a lie, to be doing something on the low. Even if you think it's adult business, you should be adult enough to have an adult discussion with your adult child. That's my perspective. At least when it gets to a point where it's serious. In any event, they find a way to, to give each other grace, to forgive each other, to hug each other, and really show that there's love. And I love that for them. Me advocating for Sequoia's perspective was never rooted in me thinking Tiny's a total jackass. Instead, it was rooted in understanding what it's like when your parent is a little deceitful as it relates to their love life. But moving on. We see Jojo in the studio working on the Legends song, and it's not sounding bad at all, which is more than I could say for a lot of the songs we hear on this show when they get to the studio. Denise drops by, and Jojo doesn't want her to hear the music. I think that's a little bit cute. I believe is rooted in him not knowing what she'll think and not being able to hear what she'll think. But what's most important in this scene is the fact that Jojo's letting her know he let her know that they didn't get the house. They were 7th on the list. He was thinking that she'd be happy they didn't get the house, but she was a bit disappointed because she understood that when he was making the move, he was doing what he thought was best for their family. So I thought that was cute because that was a little bit of a tense situation for them. And I like the way they managed that. Again, I reiterate to you, you can tell when someone is raised correctly. So Jojo gets into the fact that he's a bit nervous about going to meet with her dad. And she's letting him know, hey, I want you and my dad to be cool. I would love to have a Father's Day where it could just be you and my dad in the same room. Jojo believes he hears her saying that, Buck could be like a father to him. And he's like, I have 2 fathers already. citing his dad and his mom's husband, his stepdad. Bottom line is going to be interesting, but he is doing what he can to pull up and show up for his wife. Love to see it. Now for the part of the show that gives me anxiety. Sam, Egypt, Treach, Tyran. Okay, so Egypt meets with Treach and she's, looking at the venue. The venue's a nice venue. I'm not going to take that away from them. And, Treach keeps saying the pregame marriage. And it irked me a lot because I feel like Treach doesn't keep it a buck with his daughter, at least not on camera. And his daughter doesn't keep it a buck with him either, because what Egypt is really good at doing is trying to show good faith and trying to show a level of confidence that she just does not have as it relates to her and her relationship with Sam. She's like, oh, we're going to be good. Don't worry about it. Everything's good. She mentions inviting TT and Sean, and Treach does this thank God look. And for me, again, I'm irritated by this because TT tried to tell you that Sam wasn't shit and you didn't want to hear her. And you all turned on her. So now you want her to swoop in and save Egypt. You want her to come down to the wedding and show her ass. And I don't believe TT even wants to attend the wedding. But, we have that scene. Fine. Egypt mentions to Treach that she wants Tyran to walk her down the aisle with him. Let's get to Tyran and Treach having a discussion. Treach lets Tyran know that Sam is skating on thin ice now with him because he's tired of Sam being all talk and no action. And Tyran is nodding his head. Now, the last time we saw Tyran, Sam was having the effrontery to have a problem with Treach checking him. But I'm glad he's doing that to Treach because Treach deserves it. Basically, Treach feels like Sam might be taking advantage of his naive daughter. And Sam might be looking to get put on. Sam might be clout chasing. I did laugh when he was like, what's he working on now? An icy truck? It was funny. And Tyran did agree. Tyran also let us know that he is very much a West Indian. Because if them didn't invite him to the first wedding, he don't want to go to the second one. They had discussed him in Egypt, him walking her down the aisle. And for whatever reason, there needed to be a speed to this wedding. Maybe it's because she was pregnant. But Tyran ain't able. And what he said was, my family don't really deal with anything that gets in the way of family. And basically, he's letting us know that Sam and Egypt and the way they're doing things gets in the way of the way they do family. If you recall, he wasn't really on board when they all stood their ground against TT. Bottom line, Treach feels like Sam's a user now, and I'm wondering why Treach is so late to the party. I'm disgusted that it's gotten this far. Egypt is in for a wild ride. What they're saying that Sam did, fighting with cops in New York, driving around with like big time weapons. Egypt, they're not going to just slap him on his wrist and tell him to go home and take care of his baby. I hope they don't too. This sounds bad, but he don't mean you no good, sis. He ain't even let you enjoy the cake that you like to enjoy as a pregnant woman. This gives me such anxiety. Oh my gosh. In our last scene, we see that Jojo is going to see Buck. And I wish I could say that this turned out better than it actually turned out, but I can't. When Jojo walks into the room, Buck's entire being, the way he's sitting, the way he's smoking on the hookah, the way his leg is up, the way he is slouched like, I'm not going to show you any respect. His entire being spoke to disrespect. Then he immediately jumps on the phone with someone named Butter, and he says, should I hug him or slug him? Jojo's like, yo, Butter and I deal with each other. Butter love me. I just spoke to Butter. And he says to Butter, they will call you Butter, but they won't call me. So he is out the gate letting it be known that he think that Jojo is a BAN. And his body is saying it. He's saying it on the phone. He's making sure that we understand he don't got no respect for Jojo. So Jojo says to him, what is the issue, Buck? We ain't got no issue. Nah, there seems to be tension. Ooh, where do I start? I don't know where to start. Up to now, he still ain't tell us what his issue is with Jojo. He spoke in circles. Jojo tried to understand what he was saying. He again insulted Jojo by saying, you're supposed to be the man of a family. And Jojo's like, I am the man of a family. He was like, nah, control. They cut to commercial. Now, at the time, I was thinking that he had a problem with the way Jojo might have been trying to control Denise financially. But that's not what Buck was on. Buck wanted Jojo to bully his wife into dealing with her father. Buck is the first father I've ever seen who would be okay with his daughter's husband taking a firm grip and forcing the daughter to do something against her will. But it doesn't stop there, because for some reason, Buck wants us to know that he has had to break bread for Denise and seemingly her husband. Buck wants America to know that Jojo Simmons, son of Joseph Simmons, also known as Rev Run, nephew of Russell Simmons, also known as a pretty rich dude, he wants America to know that they have borrowed money from him. And that gets a little weird, because I'm like, well, damn, all of this so he could say in front of the camera that Jojo needed to borrow $50 from him, because I believe he did say $50, and when you was living in Brooklyn, and when you had rent, you needed rent. The funny thing about that is I live tweeted this, and when I live tweeted that Buck wanted the world to know that Jojo had to borrow money, Denise let me know that not only was her daughter not born, she was not living with Jojo at the time. As a single woman living on her own, she went to her father and asked for help with her rent. And her father saw fit to come to TV and throw it in Jojo's face as if a single woman is Jojo's responsibility. And that to me is disgusting. But it gets worse, because he wanted America to believe that Jojo was this $50 begging ass dude. And then he was like, get out of here. So Jojo's like, well, nah, I'm not leaving, because he taken enough disrespect at this time already. Nah, I'm not leaving. You also have to remember, he came there with a goal, and the goal he had was to go home and let his wife know, I spoke to your father. Things are good. We are going to work something out. Life will be good for you. That was Jojo's goal. So he's not ready to leave, because Buck has spoken in circles and been disrespectful and wanted the world to know that he lent money, yada, yada, yada. Jojo's like, nah, I'm not leaving. Buck stands up. Now, Denise's brother's in the room and pours a bucket of ice on Jojo. Denise's brother stepped in, so it didn't really douse Jojo the way it should. And Jojo couldn't react the way a man would react when he's being disrespected in the manner in which Buck has decided to disrespect himself, his daughter, his family, and Jojo. It was disgusting. It was a disgusting display of macho behavior that I wish I could say surprised me. However, again, I was an MC. I've been in the studio. I've seen this kind of machismo. I know this type of man. This is a New York City F-boy. Maybe New Jersey. And it is disgusting. And Denise spent a lot of time apologizing for her husband and trying to prove that her husband wasn't some sucker on Twitter yesterday. And for me, it's like, I hope that worked out. I don't see your husband as a sucker. I see your husband as a man who tried to do what he could do. And people were online like, Jojo is a punk, and Jojo used to be mad and angry and wayward on Run's house. Run's house was many moons ago. Jojo was not a grown man. What we saw yesterday was a grown man, a father, a husband, being disrespected by an immature adult. That's where we leave it. Next week proves to have Buck feeling like, yo, you disrespect me. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Oh, I also have to add that Buck was like, what you mean how I speak? This how I speak. Fam, I'm from New York too. I speak a certain kind of way too. However, when I am in the presence of a different kind of situation, I do know how to tone it down significantly in order to get my point across. Because I think ultimately what I mean to say to you is Buck didn't have a point, so he didn't have anything to get across. All he had was a desire to embarrass everyone. Well done, Buck. Well done. That's what's goody. That was goody. Thanks for watching. Catch y'all later.